It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Marshall Wood and Dale McKee. Good to see you, Dale.
Well, thank you there, Marshall. How you doing?
Great. Big weekend.
It was. Well, it was for some.
Yeah.
It was for the some. I'm thinking, let me see, who won this weekend? Alcorn, Belhaven, Millsap's got their first win, Mississippi College, and Ole Miss won too.
Did they? Who did they play this
LSU.
LSU. I'm going to tell you what, that was fun. That was fun to watch.
Fun game.
I do not like LSU. I'm sorry out there. I'm not an LSU fan. My best friend's an LSU fan, but I'm not. I loved every second of that. When they lit old Daniels up there in that first quarter, I believe it was, I've got that video on my phone, and I watch it about 3 or 4 times every day. I love that.
Anyway, it was a very exciting game up to the last second of the ball game.
Let me ask you something. The storming the field business.
Yeah.
How do you stand on that, Dale?
Well, I think it's more a safety issue for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just make sure the players get off, both teams get off the field. It's the responsibility of the home team to make sure that the visiting team gets off the field safely. And I'm sure in a mass explosion like that was probably very hard to do.
What's the fine for that?
Well, Ole Miss, I think, is going to be fined $100,000. But I'm sure somebody wrote a check over the weekend and went ahead and sent it in.
Yeah.
One of the fans up there probably.
I guess that money is supposed to lead or encourage the university to protect the players and the fans.
Yes.
But it doesn't work.
But I think.
But it gives them extra money.
But not necessarily. Not necessarily the SEC in itself. I think a lot of that fine money is like pro football and baseball, where a lot of that money goes to charity and maybe go to scholarships, things of that nature. To add on to that. Yeah. So it's always a good thing, probably, for the SEC to get a couple teams storming the field.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
I was looking at the polls, the AP poll, and I'm going us off of memory. I believe Ole Miss is the 3rd highest ranked SEC team in the AP poll right now. That doesn't happen every day.
Well, what surprised me was Texas A&M's not in the top 25.
Really? Okay.
They had Tennessee and Kentucky and Missouri, like 22, 23, or 21, 22, 23.
Yeah, Missouri, Tennessee, and LSU. That's it starts at 20. Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, LSU. So there's a run of SEC teams. Georgia's 1, Michigan's 2nd, Texas. I'm telling you what, Texas. I'm thinking right now Texas and Oregon are going to wind up in that playoff system. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. But the highest ranked SEC team, I guess, would be Georgia's 1. That's as high as you can get. Then Alabama.
Well, I watched a lot of the Georgia game the other day, and I'll tell you what, they were fortunate to win at Auburn.
Yeah.
I thought Auburn really outplayed them.
Yeah.
If Auburn had a quality single caller, now they've got a young man, a freshman there, but if they had an experienced quarterback, they might have pulled an upset there Saturday.
What if Spencer Sanders had gone to Auburn? They'd be winning a bunch of ball games. And I wonder why he came to Auburn. He's not going to play unless Dart gets hurt. And this is his last opportunity. I guess he's happy.
Well, I was told that if he doesn't play at all this year, he can transfer again.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've been told.
Well, if he doesn't play at all this year, could he play next year?
But I'm asking you, should Dart go out this year into the draft when you got somebody like Caleb Williams sitting out there at USC And I don't know. Of course, the Colorado, Deion's already said his quarterback is staying for another year.
Don't forget about Bo Nix.
Yeah, Bo Nix is, of course, I'm not sure if Bo Nix is a pro-style quarterback, but I know he was a good quarterback at Auburn. I was real surprised that they let him go.
Yeah.
They should have tried to keep him.
Yeah. But anyway, I just, Spencer Sanders could make a huge impact somewhere.
Yes.
But it'd be interesting to see, because I was going to ask you if he could transfer, if he doesn't play this year and Dart were to go, does that mean Sanders could play at Ole Miss next year? And what's that do to Walker Howard? Just no way to know, is it?
Why don't you, you want to get Kiffin on the phone next week and find out about all that?
Well, if anybody can do it, you can.
No, I don't know that's all.
I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's take a break. Before who we got tonight?
Well, we got the Ole Miss radio commentator, Harry Harrison, originally from Bay Springs, Mississippi.
Played ball up there.
Yes, sir, and he was a good one.
He's a good one. He's been with us before.
He's been with us before.
It's going to be good.
And I'm going to tell you what, he can go into detail with you like nobody up at Ole Miss can. He studies it. He goes to, he's good at his craft.
Yeah.
And he told me one time, I said, how'd you get this gig up here at Ole Miss? He said, I've got a nice voice, and I love Ole Miss.
There you go.
And he said, I had no experience in radio.
Yeah. Well, he's doing a good job, and we're happy to have him, glad to have him. So let's take a break, Dale, and hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be back after this break with tonight's guest, Harry Harrison from the Ole Miss broadcast team, color commentator up there. We'll see you after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Harry Harrison. How you doing, Harry?
Well, it's a great Monday after another shootout with LSU on Saturday night, and fortunately for this time, the Rebels came out on top.
What do you think was the defining difference between this game and the game the week before?
Offense, no doubt. Offense picked it back up. Offensive line had really not played well up until that, so we weren't running the football very well. And Saturday night, that changed dramatically. Offensive line got challenged. Our tight end got well. Cade Priestcorn, who had missed the first 3 games, he had a broken bone in his foot and then held him out since like the middle of camp all the way through. He played a few snaps at Alabama, but you could tell he was, he'd only practiced a couple of days. So he was pretty slow that day and not in very good shape, but played much better Saturday night. And having a good blocking tight end really helps the run game. And I thought our running backs ran really hard. I thought Quinshon Judkins had a terrific night, and then the 1-2 punch of Ulysses Bentley with the speed got him in there. I tell you, the tempo, Dale, wore them down. LSU, they were absolutely tongues hanging out at the end. So tempo really got to them as the game wore on.
Well, listen, before the game started, what did you think the score might be? Did you think it would be 55-49, or did you think it'd be 17-14?
I totally didn't think it'd be 55-49. I thought it could be something like 34-31 or 28-24. I think we'd each score a few times. I tell you, LSU's quarterback, Jalen Daniels, is a real deal. He's something, and of course Jackson Dart is too. And so, 2 great quarterbacks playing at a really high end. And receivers for LSU were terrific. But he threw those 3 balls in the end zone, just literally dropped it in a bucket. He just threw it all the time. And we had him covered. I mean, it was good coverage. He just threw it where we couldn't get it. They could, and that was the difference there. But we talked about on the air, we had to get 2 stops before the game was over. And so the last 4 possessions LSU had it, they scored, and then there was punt, and then the game was over. And so the defense stepped up at the right time.
What you? I know that Lane Kiffin said in his deal after the deal that he was actually wanting. Who scored the final touchdown for us? Harris.
Trey Harris.
Yeah,
Trey Harris.
Yeah, he was
2 guys.
Yeah, he was trying to get Harris to go down, and because he thought it was still too much time, and So he was kind of right in a way, but, that's a tough call because, if you go down on the 1 or 2, you're not guaranteed a field goal. You think you are, but, nothing's guaranteed in this day and time.
Well, no, it's not. But, I hadn't thought about the fact all we needed was 3 points to win the game.
Yeah.
But, it's hard to tell a kid in college to go down.
I know it is.
You get the adrenaline pumping, and as good as he played in the game, I think he caught 8 passes for 140, 50 yards. I'd go back and look at the stats. But he had a terrific night, and he was missing, of course, the week before. So he was welcome back, and Zachary Franklin, who transferred in Texas San Antonio, was finally in his second game. Looked like he was moving around better. But we've had 2 receivers that have just played lights out all year, Dayton Wade and Jordan Watkins, number 19 and number 11. And they're both transfers, and Dayton Wade was a walk-on last year. He's under scholarship now, but he was a walk-on last year. He's been terrific all year for us. Not a real big target, but very athletic, gets open, and once he catches in space, he makes a lot of people miss. But it was a shootout from start to finish. We weren't sure we were going to be able to stop them. They darn sure couldn't stop us. And then we got 2 stops late in the game and went down and scored twice and got ahead. And you're right. 39 seconds. I looked at David Kellum. I thought I'd rather it be 3 seconds than 39, but it was what it was. And that 41-yard catch and run got them down a really good place. And then the defense got better. Of course, I give the crowd credit. It was so loud in there that they got 2 illegal procedure penalties, which backed them up 10 yards, and that certainly helped there at the end. But it turned out a pass in the end zone as the final play, and they didn't catch it this time. So it worked out great. Of course, then half the stands filed onto the field. Everybody was excited, and all the student section got in there. But it was a great celebration.
Well, I remember back a few years ago, Alabama came in and they did the same thing. They had a pass into the end zone, and I think we had a DB from Gulfport that might have intercepted the pass in the final seconds.
He was actually from Pascagoula. And I'll think of his name in a minute. But a really good corner. Caught it in the end zone, intercepted it, and then they said he was out of bounds. But when they reviewed it, his foot came down inbounds. Another big win. That was 2014, Dale. So it's a lot longer than you think. Almost 10 years ago. But that was a big day and a big win. That was the largest crowd that day against Alabama that Vaughn Hemingway had ever had. Saturday night broke that record.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, Harry, let's go back. You just mentioned 2014. What about your playing time up there in the 70s? Y'all had any interesting games with LSU?
Yeah, we only played Alabama once in '71 over in Legion Field, and that was the first year of the wishbone for Alabama. It was, quite tight game at half, but then a long day in the second half. But LSU was always our best rivalry, was always our nemesis. In '71, we got them at Jackson. I think they were ranked in the top 4 or 5, and we beat them there. And the rematch in '72, we went down there, and they were ranked 3 in the country. Bert Jones was their quarterback, and a lot of people remember this, but the game rocked on. We were ahead 16-10 throughout most of the second half, and then we had driven down, I think, to about our 20 or 25 and had a field goal, and it looked to us like it went right over the top of the upright. They called it no good, and LSU took the ball over it with about a little over 2 minutes left and drove down to our 11-yard line. And with 4 seconds left on the clock, Bert Jones, in those days, Dale, you couldn't. There was no wishbone, and you couldn't spike the ball to stop the clock. You had to come out from under center and throw it out of bounds if you wanted to stop the clock. But Bert Jones came out from under center and backpedaled literally 7 yards, and then stuck it in their big fullback's belly. His name was Ken Addy, like they were going to run a draw. Nobody bid on that, but he pulled it, bumped it a few times, and then he threw a post route down in the end zone, and the guy was playing opposite me at safety named Mickey Fratese. He was able to bat that ball away. And we're down in the end zone celebrating, right? The game was over. Except we looked up there, and there was 1 second on the clock in Baton Rouge. And they called timeout. 1 second to go on the clock. We were ahead 16-10. And they set up a formation where it was actually the short side of the field, the boundary side of the field. They had two receivers that way. I had the inside guy. Fertizzi had the outside guy. Everybody was running out of an I formation with a fullback and a tailback out of the I. And they walked the tailback up, a guy named Brad Davis, up to a wing, which caused our weak side backer, Bobby Bayless, have to cover him. So when the ball was snapped, my guy fired out and grabbed me by the jersey, and the same thing happened on the outside. And Brad Davis came underneath us, but it caused Bayless to have to run behind us. So after I saw that the ball was being thrown to him, I left my guy, and Brad Davis went and camped out, about the half-yard line, right on the out-of-bounds and the goal line. And the ball, probably the worst pass Burt Jones ever threw. It kind of waddled like a duck. Finally got there to him and kind of hit him in the chest, and he was fumbling as it went all the way down his body. I got there to him and hit him, but he did cross the goal line, and I saw the official. I could still see that. The official was looking to see if his feet went over the goal line. Well, he did, but he never had control of the ball, and when I hit him, the ball squirted out. I was laid on top of him out of bounds, and the ball was about 10 yards, about 10 feet from us. But they called it a touchdown, lined up with no time on the clock, and made the extra point, beat it 17-16. And the place erupted down there only like it can. There was about 75,000 people there that night, and another chaos, another night of pandemonium. So I've had a stinger out for LSU, I guess, for how long? 51 years? Yeah.
Well, that was sweet. That was sweet years. Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, back in those days, Mississippi State was going through some hard times, I guess the best way to describe it, except maybe your last year they might have been competitive a little bit. But LSU was the team back then that y'all look forward to every year, right? LSU was our biggest competitor. For instance, we couldn't play as freshmen. We tied with State as a freshman team that year. Sophomore year, we played them on Thanksgiving Day. I think it was either 48 or 49-0. The next year, we caught them at Oxford, beat them 51-13. And then the next year was the first year we played in Jackson, and it was 38-10. So it was never competitive. The LSU game was always the biggest game on the schedule. We didn't play Alabama every year. That's before the East-West, thing unraveled. And so we didn't play Alabama every year. We didn't play Auburn every year. We didn't play Arkansas at all. Mississippi State, we caught them at the end of the year, and it had not been much of a series during my 3 years. And it was always LSU. And so that was the big game we had circled every year, especially after the 4-second fiasco. And those guys, I don't know, obviously somebody over the state of Louisiana, but if you went across the river bridge in Vicksburg and got close to Tallulah over there, they said that there was a sign erected that said, "Welcome to the state of Alabama. Run your clocks back 4 seconds."
There was one down there going into New Orleans because I saw it many a time going down there to go fishing.
Well, they always like to rub it in, but Saturday night, they came to Oxford, I think, in 14. I think that same year, I think it was 14, and we beat them on a field goal, and they spiked the ball with 1 second to go in the game, and the clock ran out. If y'all remember that, and. So I told David Kellman that. Well, I said I got 1 second back, but they still owe me 3. But Saturday night was I tell you, that was as much fun calling the game, and one of those gut wrenching things. We fell behind by 8, and then got 2 stops in there, scored both times with our offense, and literally, for a while you could no defense could stop each other, and. Can't say enough about Jaden Daniels and how well he played. The 3 receivers are really good for LSU, and our guys played equally as well. And finally, our defense stepped up and got the stop. So I had people in here from the guy staying with me from Baton Rouge and one from Vanderbilt that I played with, and we had a large time. It was hard getting to sleep Saturday night, but a lot of fun.
I want to ask you a question. It seemed like toward the end of the game, maybe that last 2 possessions LSU had there, those receivers had been doing so much damage kind of disappeared. Is that my imagination, or did we do something differently?
They threw some go routes from further out and got to the end zone, made terrific catches. He made great throws, but we did a better job of stepping up, getting a little pressure on the quarterback, and and stop. Their run game was never, other than Jay Daniels scrambling. I mean, he was their run game,
right.
but it really never was a situation where we felt like we couldn't stop them running Saturday night. But, a lot of it is a blur. If I'm looking back on it, we did a better job there in the last two possessions. But I think, you guys can remember this possibly. I think they finally got a holding call in the game, which backed them up 10, which made them 1st and 20.
Yep.
Now, he may have picked that up on a scramble. I don't remember that. But we did get 2 stops there, the last two out of the last 3 possessions. And of course, I guess you would count the last possession a stop since they flung it in the end zone. We interviewed that guy today at Lane Kiffin's press conference. He said, the guy was open for a minute, but he said, I had my arm on his left arm, and I was going, if he was going to jump, I was going up with him. So he was able to knock the ball away, and that was the Anthony kid, Deshaun Anthony, who incidentally transferred in here from Liberty. So it'll be interesting here in a few weeks when we go to Auburn to see what his emotions are there. But he's played very well for us. That's number 3. He was the guy that hit Jalen Daniels early in the game that jarred the ball loose from him, which is a huge hit. And we went up 2 scores, which kind of big hit. Went up 2 scores. That might have been the difference in the game by the fact that we went up 2 scores and kind of stayed out ahead throughout the first half.
Well, listen, I know we've talked about Harris and the tight end, but how much difference does it make having those 2 back? Is it going to make the offense a little bit more crisper?
Well, I think Saturday night the offensive line stepped up like they had not stepped up. I think that was the difference in the game. But yes, having 2 backs, I mean, Judkins ran it 33, had 33 carries in the game for, I think, 180 or 177, somewhere. 33 carries is a lot, Dale, even though he ran hard. He got popped several times, but he ran over some folks, too.
Well, he got a couple passes,
having a guy on Bentley's ability to be able to bring him in there, a little bit different runner, not quite as big, not quite as strong, faster. Judkins is a plant your foot and go north-south guy, and Bentley's a guy that can take it to the outside and make him miss. So it's a good combination, and those guys are kind of complementing each other. But I thought our tight end did a terrific job, 86, pre-scored a blocking, and I thought our front 5 played very well the other night. Well,
listen, in watching the 2 quarterbacks' expressions, Dart is he's got emotion, He's like those kids back in the classroom back in the day that don't want to sit down. He seems to be moving all around and excited and all this. And the LSU quarterback, Daniels, he looked as calm as any quarterback I've seen. He dropped back even in the last seconds. He didn't look like anything was going to frustrate him very much. I don't know if you saw that, but he is a good-looking quarterback down there, and he's making their offense. He is their team right now, I would think.
Yeah, I said this at the beginning of our broadcast. I said if you stop the schedule right now, Jaden Daniels might be the MVP of the SEC. And of course, he did nothing Saturday night to make me change my mind about that. Obviously, different personalities, but he's about 6'3" or 4. He's not a big, he's pretty wiry. But when he gets out in the open field, he's going to make you miss, and he runs that read option very well and pulls it a lot of times, and then. If he finds an opening in that pocket, he's going to take off as he did several times and make you miss again. He's just a terrific guy. And as we talked about earlier in this broadcast, he dropped 3 dimes in the end zone for 3 different scores. We really had good coverage. He just put it where we couldn't get it and they could. And not every quarterback can do that. But, yeah, I thought Dart's the emotional leader of that offense. He's won that battle, throughout camp. And he's having a terrific year. I think he was the co-offensive player of the week this week in the SEC, so that says volumes about him. But he's off to a terrific start. He ran the ball well at Alabama. He got hit a few times in that first half without sliding, but he got the memo at halftime. He started sliding in the second half. But somebody got to him at halftime. I was going to go down and tell him that, man, I can't stand to see you get hit like that. I think he got his headgear knocked off 3 times in that game. But we just didn't have much of a run game. Our offensive line just did not get it done against Bama, and that changed. You go, well, how do you get that much better from one week to the next? And yeah, he just challenged some guys, and they kept working, and all of a sudden they performed like I knew they could, and hopefully that's going to be the launching point for this, going forward. And we'll certainly need to do that. We need to run the football on Arkansas Saturday night just to keep their offense off, because another good running quarterback, the only difference is we go 185 to 190 up to about 240 or 50. So you got to have some help. Go bring that guy down. He's a big kid, 6'4" and about 240 or 50. Right up the road at Sardis from here, so he'll have a big entourage, I'm sure, in here cheering him on. But always a battle with Arkansas. Always a battle with Arkansas. Deep in the SEC schedule now, so it's every week is a challenge.
Well, looking forward on that schedule, okay, how hard will it be for Kiffin to get this team up to play with the emotion they played the other night?
Well, the fact that we played so badly at times on defense and some things we didn't get done on offense, Dale, when you point out to a team all the mistakes you made, I think we had 11 penalties. When you point out all those errors and mistakes you made, you kind of you forget about the fact that you just had a major win. You just go back to work, and Tuesday and Wednesday are work days, and you go back to work and try to drill in the fact of the team. We went up there last year and got embarrassed in Fayetteville, so I don't think you got to look back very far. I get to show them that tape again, and I think they'll be ready to play.
How kind of a local boy from around here, the Perkins kid from Raleigh, how's he progressing up there?
He's off to a terrific start. He really wasn't quite the difference maker Saturday night as he was over at Alabama. We had him spying their guy at Alabama. I think he had 2 sacks in that game and several tackles for losses. But Dale, he is a terrific football player that understands football, and he's 6'3", not that heavy yet, probably 215, 210, but he can run. He's got speed that you can't teach, and he's going to be a terrific linebacker. Obviously, he's off to a good start as a freshman. As you can see, we're playing him more and more snaps every week, so I think he got in the 60 snap count over the weekend. I don't remember exactly how many snaps LSU had on offense, but he was in there a good 85% of the time. And for a freshman, he's way ahead of the curve.
Listen, this is Marshall again, and one of my few responsibilities is I keep the clock. And unfortunately, we're about out of time. We sure do appreciate you taking time to be with us today and share about the game this week and all things Ole Miss football and other things. Man, it was a lot of fun. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's always fun when you beat LSU. It's good to talk about it. Thank you guys for having me.
Okay, have a good one.
Thank you, bud.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, Dale and I will be back shortly with the final segment of the night. We'll be back after this. One word from our sponsor.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. I tell you what, Harry was all that we thought he would be. He is who we thought he was.
Well, I tell you what, he can go back to the 60s with you because he's seen a lot of games.
Yeah.
And of course, for the last 20-something years, he's been David Kellum's sidekick, and, that's hard to – but they have great, rapport with each other.
Yeah.
We need to work on that.
You need to work on your rapport. I'm pretty good, but You got some work to do.
I got you. Well, I'll ask my mother to help me.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. She's supposed to get on with me. I was just kidding. He doesn't have any work to do. He's fine. You're good, Dale. We appreciate you.
Okay.
I'm not going to get in trouble with your mother.
There you go.
Well, let's see here. Anything else going on out there that we want to talk about before we bring the night's show to a close? Any closing comments you'd like to make, Dale, about anything? You got a blank check?
Well, not really. I follow baseball a lot, especially Major League Baseball, and they start the playoffs. They started playoffs today, Tuesday, and so they got some interesting matchups there. A lot of teams are not there this year. St. Louis Cardinals, New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, and those are teams that are usually in the playoffs, and none of those made it this year. And they all have And I guess one of the Yankees and maybe San Diego have the highest payroll in Major League Baseball. Neither one of them made the playoffs. So,
That's not good.
Nope. But we should have a, pretty good. Hopefully Atlanta makes it back to the series again.
Go Braves.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Former Mississippi State Bulldog there that coached, that managed the New York Mets this past couple of years. He was asked to resign in a nice way. He's got a year on his contract, so they probably told him, said, hey, if you resign, we'll pay you. So I don't know if that's the deal or not. But Buck Showalter, and he actually spoke one time at Laurel, and I went and met him, and he's a great manager. He managed 22 years in the major league, so this was probably his last stint.
Yeah. Well, he had a good run.
He did.
Yeah. We all can't say that.
There you go.
Some of us are still running.
I thought in junior college football last week, Gulf Coast went up to East Mississippi and really embarrassed them.
They wore them out, didn't they?
Yeah, 42-17. East Mississippi doesn't usually get beat by that. So
I see Holmes has won about 3 or 4 ball games. They doing pretty. Are they usually that good, or we got some Wayne County kids up there?
Well, they changed coaches a couple years ago, and the new coach is from the Philadelphia, Mississippi area, and he brought in some good assistant coaches, and he's been. I think he's probably not at the level of an East Mississippi or Jones or Gulf Coast yet, but there's not many teams in our 14 league that are as good as those 3. Those are the top 3. But I'll tell you what, he's going to make some noise before he leaves there.
Yeah, they're 3-1, 1-1, so he's got them on the right track. Well, listen, Dale, we're out of time.
We are.
Yeah, we're out of time. Listen, we appreciate Harry for being with us tonight and our sponsors, and we really appreciate y'all for joining us out there and listening in. And but now our time has come, and that time it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale, and we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.